Welcome back to Alpine Garage Sports. My name is Chris. I'm your host for this show. We bring you Colorado Buffs news, and today is no different. We have two great stories for you. First, Antwann Hill Jr. You may or may not have heard his name, but he is probably the biggest prospect that we've had at Colorado in over a decade, and obviously the biggest prospect that we have going into the 2025 season. Number 4 quarterback in the country. We're going to be bringing that news today. Second, much needed renovations may be coming to the west side of Folsom Field. Now, why is this big news? We're going to tell you on this episode of Alpine Garage Sports. Settle into the garage and we'll get going. Antwann Hill Jr. This was super exciting to those who have been following recruiting in Colorado. We need to, expand our stable of quarterbacks going past Shedeur. So we all want Shedeur to stay for another year. Coach Prime has alluded to him staying for another year. We know we're going to have Travis for another year. We could potentially have Shiloh for another year. And we're bringing back a really strong team for next year from this year. And then we're adding our 2024 recruits to that, including 2024 elite quarterback Danny O'Neal, who was committed to Colorado back in the offseason. Now we get a 2025 quarterback settling in here, Antwann Hill Jr., who is the number 4 quarterback in the 2025 cycle. He's like the number 49 player in the 2025 class. So when we're talking elite, we're talking elite. And it's good timing too, because that is potentially the year that is going to be vacated by Shedeur going to the NFL. So now at this point, with the way that things are committed, we could have a 2025 top 4 quarterback, and we can have a 4-star quarterback in the 2024 class and Danny O'Neal in the same stable. Now let's go back to Antwann Hill Jr. for a second. 6'5", 220, big dude. Great passing. He's got over 6,000 yards passing in his career, and he's only a junior in high school. And he's got over 70 touchdowns to 11 interceptions. Last year, I think he was like 40-1 or 40-2, something like that. Super accurate quarterback, over a 70% completion rate last year. And even had the crowd chanting at Folsom Field, "We want AJ." I mean, this guy is an epic quarterback. We are super proud to have him here at Colorado. He mentioned in several articles, it was really the coaching crew at the University of Colorado that sealed his commitment. The fact that we were good communicators and made really good personal relationships with all of them, including Coach Prime. So that said, we get a pure pocket passer coming in to take over for Shedeur. And that could spell awesome things for us in the era of expanded playoffs. Now that we have him committed, we obviously as a team, we're working on building up that offensive line, because we're going to need that offensive line to be really sturdy for our next round of quarterbacks that are coming in. And even starting next year, would be nice to have that with Shedeur in his final season. So that's going to be a big part of our recruiting going forward, obviously, is to seal that front line. And that's what we at Alpine Garage Sports are going to be focusing on too, is what does our recruiting line look like? And then at the end of the season, we're going to be looking at the portal and looking at the linemen that are coming into the portal as well, so that we can kind of determine how Colorado is going to go and build this line in front of Antwann Hill Jr. and Danny O'Neal. And don't forget that we have Ryan Staub in the wings as well as other really great quarterbacks that have committed to Colorado and are on the team right now. Just like any football team out there, we're going to go and we're going to get the best quarterbacks we can get every single cycle. This is no different. So where does that leave Danny O'Neal, let's say? Danny O'Neal was committed. We're really excited about him here at Colorado. I'm sure he's going to come to the University of Colorado and he is going to ball out and try to get that starting position. So welcome Antwann Hill Jr. Welcome to Colorado. You're going to love it here. Next up, let's talk about Folsom Field. So we had a giant renovation in the early 2010s, so 2013 to 2016. And that's the beautiful part of the stadium that you see now, the IPF, the indoor practice facility that you see in all of the great videos that Well Off Media and the others are bringing to you. And then also the expansion on the east side of Folsom Field, which gave us more suites, and it gave us the Champions Center, which is where Coach Prime's office is housed. I mean, all of that was about a decade ago. We started construction on this. And since then, most of us Buffs have been wondering, all right, when are we going to jump over to the west side of the stadium and start rebuilding that? Because the stadium is 100 years old this year. The Bulk Fieldhouse, which is the area that's talking about in the expansion in this Buff Stampede article, has been there since 1937. Facilities are getting kind of old. Obviously, they mentioned even just 5 years ago that the expansion joints and the steel and stuff like that was starting to age, and it needed a structural reboot. In this case, our AD Rick George even came out and said that they're looking to, within the next 5 years, really expand that west side and create an open air first floor for the students. That way they can get from north to south really easily, with the tennis courts and everything being on the north, and then also a lot of the housing on the north, apartments and things like that, which is really timely news because this entire season since Coach Prime has come, a lot of people have been talking about the big now push in revenue that Colorado is getting from all of the media that's been coming and the merchandise sales and you name it, and the sellout of the stadium and the extra big crowds that are coming to the University of Colorado and Boulder blowing up from an economic standpoint. When are we going to do the same thing to the west side that we did to the east side? And it looks like Rick George said that it's coming in the next 5 years. And it's probably going to be as awesome or more awesome as the east side renovation that happened. And, you know, this has been a long time coming. I remember an article back, it's probably 5 or 6 years ago, after we had already finished the east side expansion, talking about the west side expansion, but also talking about the fact that funding is going to be a potential roadblock to that, because a lot of the donors had just donated to the east side renovation. And at that time also, Colorado football was kind of on the downs a little bit. We didn't have very good renewal of season tickets. We weren't selling out games. So therefore the timeline was a little longer at that point, maybe a 10-year timeline. Well, we're 5 years into that 10-year timeline, and now we're talking about possibly in the next 5 years. And that funding obviously is coming at a high rate. And you know that our boosters and even boosters outside of the University of Colorado are going to support Coach Prime in this expansion. So that is great news. It's great to hear that the west side is coming to fruition. When that is done, we are going to have one of the most stunning and most well-equipped stadiums in college football. Super, super great day to be a Buff. Thank you very much for hanging with me today. If you haven't already subscribed and become part of the Alpine Army, do that today, and we will see you in the next video. And if you haven't already heard, the 2025 class is shaping up.